I love working with this material for the results it gives you, but it can be a challenge. And you know what I'm talking about, Burl Veneer. Now, what is Burl Veneer? Well, here's a few samples of it. Let me show you first. I'll start with the one I showed you initially. This is just a beautiful large piece with some swirling areas of grain. Here you have some wider grain, but then this kind of concentrated dense area of these little swirls. And if you, I don't know if you can see close, but there's little knots all in there. And this is, can you guess what kind of veneer this one is? This is Carpathian elm, burl. And I had to look up where that was from, the Carpathian elm. It's from the Carpathian forest. Did you know that is in Eastern Europe? And anyway, it's one of the top, I think one of the top 3 or 4 veneers. I have some of it, but it's unusual, right? I mean, look at it. It's all roly-poly and like a potato chip, and it has its problems, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But some of the other beautiful veneers that I have here are Mappa burl. We talked about this some time ago. This is just like Swiss cheese. There's so many holes in it. We talked about a fun, easy way to fill those in a previous video. We'll put a link to it. And this one is camphor burl. And you can get these veneers at Certainly Wood. Certainly. It's go on their website, and when you see the wood, click on wood menu, and then you'll see burls will come up, burls and crotch and figured veneers like that. And you can see what they have. And they have this camphor burl there. Unbelievable stuff. But the other favorite I have, if you've been around any time, is Ambonia burl. This is actually one of the most precious, sought-after furniture grade veneers. It was very popular in the Art Deco period in the 1920s. Jacques Ruhlmann, he loved to use this on horizontal surfaces. It's just spectacular. And I should put a little thinner on it to make it come alive, because we're not really seeing it. You're just seeing the dry wood. So let's just take a little. So if I wet this with mineral spirits, you'll get kind of a preview of what it's going to look like with finish on it. Are you seeing that? Mm-hmm. Isn't that incredible? I mean, that is so rich. It almost looks like leather, but it's got all those little pips in there and little swirls and knots. And the reason this forms on a tree, it's usually you'll see it as like this bulbous growth on a tree. They tend to be round, and you can look on the trunks going up, and if you see this strange bulbous growth, it's the tree reacting to stress. It's a type of, usually it's a type of fungal bacteria that's affecting the tree, and it's a defense mechanism. It starts to grow around it and does all these kind of weird swirly things. And then this one, it's Ambonia burl. Yes, but Ambonia burl comes in this red color sometimes, and usually you're going to find it in the golden. And I looked on Certainly Wood today, and I was surprised that it was quite reasonable. Usually, I thought back to when I bought this, I think I paid like $25 a square foot for these smaller projects, you know. But this, right now, is only about $13 or $14. I say only, but that is pretty cheap for this incredible veneer. But with the red, you get, check this out. I made a demi-lune table with this once. Oh my gosh, this is going too dark. It looks better than this. But you can see, it's like ruby. Anyway, I made a demi-lune, and with this all on the top, and I called it, what did I call it? Rhapsody in Red. But anyway, those are some of my favorites. But what we're going to work with is the Carpathian elm. I just want to show you how I use that. And
you can see that table at our website. If you go epicwoodworking.com/portfolio, you'll see
oh, it is.
some of Tom's gallery, not gallery, but it's a gallery of his works there. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that one made it. I remember taking a picture that went down to
You know what? I'm pretty
New
sure
York
it's there.
City.
I'll look
Yeah.
after, but
No, I'm
if
sure
not,
it
I'll put
is.
it on there.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the challenges of working with veneer. Those that I showed you just then were fairly flat, but this Carpathian elm is nasty and difficult to work with because some veneers, when they're highly figured like this, like crotch veneers and others, when they're shipped to you, they will usually be wrapped in plastic and in a very hard cardboard box. So very rigid to keep it flat. And the plastic is so it doesn't change humidity while it's going to your place and it arrives the way it left. So it is very subjective, to atmosphere. But when it dries, this is what's going to happen because of the wild figure. So what you end up doing is you need to condition it with what's usually referred to as veneer flattener or veneer softener. There's a particular product out there called veneer tamer, and that's what I have in this. And it's a mix of water, glycerin. Sometimes people add a little glue to it. I try not to because I don't know. I think of the glue almost acting as a sizing and affecting the full rich penetration and effect of the finish. I could be wrong about that, but I just don't like the idea of glue in there. However, I could be sold on that. But anyway, all you have to do is you take the veneer softener and you spritz it. I do this on the whole thing. And you let it soak in and watch. Because there are little nuts, it goes right through. Because the grain is so wild and porous. And it's not porous, it's just, you've got like end grain all over here and then side grain. It's just a crazy, beautiful jumble of color and figure. And that's just makes for a stunning top. So once you wet it, then you let it relax, right? And you let it really just saturate in. I spritz really heavy veneer like this several times over the course of like 3 or 4 hours, a couple times anyway, and just let it saturate in there. And then while it's still kind of damp like this, it'll still be a little shiny. You'll be able to feel that it's a little more pliable and it has almost like a rubbery feel to it. And it's the glycerin is kind of relaxing the cells. It's absorbed in there. And then you want to put it between some paper. Heavy paper is better. Stack up a couple sheets of paper and sandwich it between the paper and some flat cauls. So I usually use like MDF, and I bought this paper thinking it was heavier, but it wasn't as heavy as I thought. I got it on Amazon. Came in like 17-inch rolls, so I had to tape it up to press these pieces, and found out this also is for smoking on the barbecue, which is kind of, I didn't realize they use paper like that, but very interesting. So I was a little disappointed. Maybe somebody can steer me. If you know of a heavier weight paper that was pretty inexpensive for this type of thing, because you just basically, it absorbs the material or the glycerin, and then you throw it out after. So you do a press in that. I usually actually stick it in the vacuum press, so it really gets pressed down. I take it slow though, press on it by hand at first, and just let it kind of start spreading out there, and then I only put it in the press after I feel like I've got it all the way down, because if you're hearing cracking while you're doing that, it's not relaxed enough, right? It's sort of like your back, when you get into bed. So anyway, that after overnight, I'll change the paper out one time anyway, And then the next morning, it still feels a little damp, but it's perfectly workable. And it has some flex to it, and it's really nice and flat. And let me show you a piece. Well, first of all, I'll take out some pieces I did earlier today. I left one clamp on here.
Tom, does the glycerin have any adverse effects if using stains? Pierre's questioning.
I have not noticed it. Although I can't say I've used stain. I don't think I've ever stained a burl. You know, a burl is just beautiful on its own. So usually you're flattening really naturally beautiful figured woods like crotch, burls. So I wouldn't think you're going to stain them. But I'm more concerned about adherence with the glue. You know, I was wondering if the glue was going to stick. So anyway, don't worry, it works great. Now, I just put in here a little small sandwich. And if you have smaller pieces, you can sandwich it and just use clamps. You know, you don't have to go in the press. But I prepped these pieces because this is, well, I got one in here. This shows you this was really rolly just like that. And look how flat it is. And it's very kind of pliable and workable. And that's how the whole thing gets. And this is how you can use it. So I'm going to use this to help us with our next step. I'm going to just put it right there. Let's set this aside. And once you've got your veneer all nice and flat, and by the way, the glycerin, and I've learned from the veneer dealers that the glycerin all comes from the same place. So it's pretty much the same material. But now, check this out. I've got this large piece, and I needed this to cover our masterclass version of the bow front end table. So we just finished that course, and I didn't show applying this veneer. I just showed it as it was on. We'll be having the big reveal of that very soon. I think actually in 2 weeks, because we have a special guest next week. But this is large enough to cover this whole piece without piecing it up at all. And it was actually part of a wider piece. So I'm very excited about that. There'll be no seams. It's just totally wild and random. But if you notice, it's got some issues. It's got defects or holes, like a tear there, another hole over here, and some little ones rounding about. And these little pieces of blue tape are where I've already patched some holes, because I didn't want to do it all while you're here, but I want you to just see how it goes. Now, the way you can fill these holes easily is using a veneer punch. You've seen veneer punch patches many times. You know, the common footballs on plywood, the football shape. Those are just plugs to cover where the veneer was poor or there was a serious knot, and they're just plugged. They're very obvious though, right? So we want a plug cutter in order so it doesn't show up at all. This is where Emboigna Burl is very forgiving. Because of the wild pools and random shapes, it's almost impossible to pick up a good patch. And it's super easy to make the patch with these veneer plug cutters. I got these from a really nice guy. He was closing down, this German veneer guy, and he gave me his veneer punches. And look at them. They come in all different sizes. This is a really big one. See this? Mm-hmm. This is like a 15 16ths. And they have a sharp tapered edge there. This one, he deformed. He hammered it and still tapered the edge so that you could create a patch that's really harder to detect. A random edge is harder to pick up, you know. And it's got all different sizes here. I just really enjoy using them when I get a chance to do it, which isn't all that frequently, you know. So anyway, I'll just start off by showing you how a very small one is used. I've got this one has a nice little taper. Now, one of the keys to getting a great fit is you work from the back. You can see the seam from the back slightly, but you don't see it from the front. So I'm going to come back here where we've got these smaller holes. So I'm going to pick the appropriate size punch. I've got a little one. This is about 1/4 inch, looks like. Yeah, 1/4 inch. And these are little tiny holes here. I make a little mark on it in case it's misshapen. And I'm going to put that mark toward me. And all I do is set the punch right over the hole. And I'm going to tap and just take it out. So I've got a nice clean edge now, the size of my punch. Okay, I'll do this one while I'm here. Same thing.
You mentioned where you get those punches, Tom? I don't remember
I
you saying
don't,
that.
because I didn't have to buy them. I don't know. I haven't shopped them. I'm sure if you look on, look online and check it out. I'm curious myself. I know when I've heard from people that they can be quite pricey. So I was trying to be resourceful one day, and I thought I'm going to make my own punches. So I got some pipe like this, just some copper pipe, and this is what, a 3/4, half. They might call it a 1/2 inch, but I tapered the outer edge by putting it on the grinder and got a sharp edge on there, and then I hit it on the stone, and I tried it, and it seemed to work. It wasn't perfect. I think you want to have a good hard metal to use, something better, but you're basically creating your own punch. But here we go. Now, here's getting the patch. Now you use the same punch. This is where it's kind of fun. You come over to your sample piece, or I could go around my edge where I know I'm going to be cutting off, and it'd be good actually if I got one of these little knots, So I'm going to put a little mark on it in case. I'll put the pencil mark toward me right here, and let's get that one, and I'm just going to put it right on there. And now to get it out, it's kind of tough. So I just take a wire and I push from behind. And there, I got one. I'll do it another one. And pop it out. Okay, now I can see my pencil mark. So I just take an awl or something. You can pick it up and come on over. I'm just going to set it right in there. Set it and forget it. All right, so get it the second one. Set it right in there. And the roller helps to get it flat. But you can see that edge, right? But from the other side, it's really hard to tell. This is going to be the underside. I'm going to put a piece of blue tape on here just to hold it. So we're going to tape it down from the other side. All right, so there. Now I've got over here, I've got these defects. And this one, let's start with that one first. If I went with that one, I have this punch, but it's almost exactly the same size. And it almost looks like I punched it with this, but I didn't. This is how it is. That's one of my biggest glaring holes. So I'm going to have to find another one. This one, this is cool because this is one of those special ones that he deformed. So let's try this. I know it's big enough. It's going to go over kind of like that. Let's see, got to make sure I'm covering. Looks good. And now with it in position, watch the camera. Okay, that's it. That worked. All right. Now check this out. We've got a kind of a bad deal over here. Very similar. I think I can stretch this to cover over here. So let's see. I'll put it the same kind of orientation. This is a little bit of a fracture. It's kind of weird. All right. I'm mostly covered. Okay. It's kind of all fractured out of there, but that's good. All right, so we got these two holes, and it's pretty obvious how the patch has to go in there. So let's see. For this one, you can almost choose your color. You can come over and actually take your patch material and think, all right, do I have anything close to that? Let's just I'm just going to take a shot right in here of this knot. Did I get it all the way? This is a little resistant because it's damp. All right. I missed cutting off all of it, but I'm going to it's just about there. Just going to trim that little bump. Okay. And we know this is the side up, so let's take it. Look, we've got a built-in little knot there. We're going to set it in there. That's sweet. Look how it knows. Just stand back. Stand back from your TV and watch how that disappears. All right, I'm going to put this on. That's what's fun about it. All right, now let's check out this one. Here, I mean, because we're cutting this off, we could grab something there, but I like around a swirl, it seems like you should have a knot in there, right? So let's find a good knot. All right, that's a hole. Let's put this little cluster in there. Take my punching end. There it is. So I'll just come right to this cluster of knots. See if I can get it all in one shot here. Oh, it's that little corner. I think because of the way he deformed it, you gotta lean it in a little. Okay. Let's get it out. There it is. Yeah, I had the same little problem there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's just a little whisker hanging on right here.
Do that on your...
I'm not going to cut through. No, it's very light. You and probably a lot of people were wondering. All right, so let's check it out. We'll bring it around. It's like a little lima bean. Drop it in. Oh, that was brave to use the little knots, huh? But I'm telling you, cool. It's crazy how, we'll flip it over here.
So Tom, Mike's curious, how would you fill the tiny burl pipettes on Mappa? He's been told putty. Any advice?
Yeah, I did a video on that. I'm trying to think what we did. It's a pain. Because there's so many of them, you can't do this. You know, you'd be there like... But I forget what we did. We did use a type of filler.
Table, right?
No. We use actually this on the lily pad table. Mm-hmm. So let's just flip this over, and I'll show you how I treat it, and then we'll cut a little bit.
Do you have an answer, putty? Or?
You know what? I have to go back and look at that video because I forget what we did, honestly.
Okay.
So
Mike, we'll figure it out and put a link there if you don't mind coming back.
Sorry. So now, check it out. Look, here's the one we just filled. Can you see that? This is the bean right there. And here's the kind of wild one that's on that wild craggy thing. And then there's a bunch of little circles up here, but I defy you to find them because it's just so hard. And then when you put the finish on, it's just amazing how forgiving it is. So that's one of the enjoyable aspects of veneer cutting. Now for this one, what I would do is actually, this is the back. You can't leave the blue tape on. So you got to get that off before you would glue it down. I'm not actually going to be able to glue it all down, but I'll get you close to it. So once I have the patches here, I'm going to use my veneer tape. The veneer tape, I've got this nice little modified roller that works pretty well. And I'll use that on the face side. It's nice and thin. You could use the blue tape too, but this is really good the way it comes off. And rolling it on there really sticks it down. Then I've got this other one. Right here.
And when you do adhere the veneer, Tom, what kind of glue are you going to use?
There's a number of glues you can use. Given I have no seams here, I'm not really concerned about creep. You know, where seams will open up. But I do want a glue that dries rigid or hard, fairly hard. And there's degrees of that. You know, how much do you need? The Unibond 800 is like glass, and it's expensive, takes a while. And I actually, to be honest, I've had some trouble, not with Unibond 800, but with a urea formaldehyde glue, the same, but it was one of those powders and you add water. And there's something about it on the burls I had problems with. I think the burls were wicking it away from the surface before it got fully cured. And on, I think it was that Rhapsody and Red Table and other pieces, I found I had little bubbles, like air bubbles, where there was wildness. You know, there was too much wicking, I think, too long to cure. So I would rather use a glue that dries hard, like Unibond 1 is more of a typical resin glue. You know, it works just like your regulars. But honestly, for this, you can also use Titebond Extend. This is Titebond Extend, and it's just like the regular formulation of Titebond, which dries kind of crispy. You know, not quite as crispy as Unibond 800, but it's hard enough that it's very rigid and quite forgiving. So that's what I'm going to use, is the Titebond Extend. So I would go ahead and locate all of my patches and put my veneer on the face, and then I'd come on the other side, and knowing once I got that veneer, I can pull the blue tape. Oh, is that the one? No, I don't think that's the one I just did. I see a little small around there. That's not it. I think it's this one here. So this has the veneer on the other side. Our bigger ones there. Okay, so I would then pull all these tapes. These help me find the patches, because it's like finding Waldo, you know, to find all your little patches there. So anyway, once I had all that ready, and now the veneer is flat, it's pliable, it's filled and patched, now I'd be ready to cut it to size and glue it down. So to cut this to size, I just use a caul, and I'm going to use the very caul that I'll use to press this down. It's a little oversized from our substrate. Now, this is the substrate. It's MDF, it's 1/2 inch, and you can see I put, for this project, this version of the table, I put a 3/32 edging of mahogany, like real mahogany. And in the course, the masterclass course of this bow front end table, we covered the mitering and a nice technique to quickly, by hand, make beautiful miters and tape them together, and then tape the edging on. It's a little proud, so we just take a block plane and skim it and to flush. And once it's flush, you could put your veneer right on the substrate, but you get a better, reliable, less likely to creep or move or have any issues if you can first put down a backer veneer. So I put backer under and here, and I just used the Certainly Wood mahogany backer. And then once I did that, I had this panel. So this has just been veneered. You can see the solid mahogany edging here. And the reason I use solid was because I'm going to put a little radius on this edge. So once this is veneered on both sides now, it's a beautiful prepared platform for this highly figured burl veneer. And I'll just put the burl on this one face. You don't need to put another sheet on the bottom. Just the one, it stays flat. It's good and true. So that will just give you insurance for it to do a better job. I just have had creep and issues. And you know, now that I think of it, maybe if I did this, I think I went right on the MDF on that trouble I had with the Unibond 800 type glue. So this would be ready, and this would just be cut to shape. So this caul is slightly larger than my top, so I would just set it down here, and I made a little pencil mark where I was going to be there. And let's see if I can return it. Must have moved a little bit. Oh, I know why. I made the mark on the actual table, not the caul. So this is going to be a little bigger, which is fine. Okay. So once I get it in location, then for this I would just take a knife and cut along the edge. So I'm not going to do the whole thing. You can see we'd go ahead. Holding it firm. And it'll just pop off like this. I'm going to turn it this way. We'll just pop this. Whoops. It's hanging on right here. Okay. So I would do the whole thing, and then you'd have a beautifully shaped piece, and then it would get, then I would take my glue roller, and you can use a lot. I sometimes use adhesive, but one of these, if you have a glue tray, that's nice, but you don't even have to mess up a tray. A lot of times I'll just pour on easy from the bottle, and we'll roll it out. And when you roll it out, you're going to make sure you got a nice even roll. And we did this in the course, so we actually veneered, this is the top we veneered in the course. So I did the sub, but not the top. And so we rolled on both sides and got our backer on, making sure it's even and not too heavy, and out to all the edges, and then goes in the press. And that's all we'll do. We'll use our caul, we'll put a piece of paper. You definitely need some barrier, because even though I patched those holes, there are other spots where you're going to get a little leakage through there. Where I have these little cracks, I'm going to leave those, but I'm going to put veneer tape over these issues, and you will have some glue like show there, like come up into that crack, but I will touch it up with a touch-up marker, an artist's knife if I need, with color to bring it to that color. And this again is extremely forgiving, and it's fun to just doctor it up, because at the end it's really hard to see anything but the beauty of the natural wood. So this gets laid onto the substrate, you know, after it's cut to size, after the glue spread. The piece of paper goes on. If any glue comes through, it sticks to the paper, not the caul. And then the caul goes on, and you put it on your platen and right into the bag, the press. And I use the power press for most of this course. So that, in a nutshell, is handling the veneer. And when it's all done, it'll come out and you will have a beautiful top similar to this.
Ooh.
So
Nice.
here's the bottom. And you can see this, we only finished this quadrant. This was what we actually used in the course. We put in an ebony line So we routed a little rabbet around the edge. We put in this 3/32 ebony line. It's actually like an 1/8 inch wide, and softened it. And I put a subtle radius on the edge too. So it gives the illusion of it being a solid top that happens to be veneered. And the black edging does two things. For one, just color-wise, it sets it off. It makes this color pop, and there are ebony details on the base of the table, so it joins the kind of overall composition of the design to the base, because there's no Carpathian elm on the base. I just love it because it's like a pool of water on this horizontal surface, except it's just a gorgeous figured wood. The ebony line also protects the veneer edging. As the veneer goes right out to the edge, you don't want that fragile edge, so that will offer a barrier for that. Yeah.
Okay, a few questions. Vincent's asking if the surface veneer had straighter grain, would you run it with the grain of the base veneer or cross-band it?
Oh, I would run it cross grain, usually. I'm always trying to switch it. It wouldn't really matter that much on this because once you've got the double glue on there, you're stabilizing that panel, and then a piece of veneer is not going to totally change it. However, for just good practice, you always want to go with your next veneer going the other way. You're kind of balancing any potential for movement, but the glue is way more powerful than the veneer can move, so it's going to stay flat.
Okay,
Yeah.
David's asking, do you want to try and avoid your patches when cutting it out, or does it not matter after they're glued in?
Oh, good question. Well, I didn't glue in the patches, if you noticed. I would try not to have a hole that I'm patching, or that I'm knifing through, if that's what you're asking. Or if the patch, when I trim it, I might go into a patch. I've never put one on an edge. I suppose you could, but I would try to avoid that. You're just inviting me a potential issue, but you might be okay with it, but who knows?
And Brent's curious, would hide glue and hammer veneering work for a top of this size?
I haven't used hide glue on panels like this, but they used to use it, so I'm sure you can do it. You just got to have everything warm, the right consistency. There's a lot of little nuances to get used to with hide glue that I have not practiced enough to demonstrate. And even if I did, you'd have to practice too to get used to it. It's a little finicky, but one of the keys is having the right viscosity, a good quality, and the warm surface so you can get it all on there, and then you're working in a warmer environment. It's not too bad. It actually, hide glue is an exceptional glue. It dries quite hard too, quite brittle. Even though it does come loose with heat and moisture, it's an amazing glue. So that actually is a good option if you could do it. You could also use old brown glue, which is hide glue, but with an additive, I think it's uric acid or something, added to give it liquid state at room temperature. It doesn't harden. So it takes longer, but it is basically hide glue. Let me just show you.
I have one more question, and then before you go on.
Yeah, sure.
Tony's asking, do you miter all the different woods at the corners?
All the different ones. On the top, yeah, these are mitered little ebony. I mean, it'd be hard to see, but yeah, we actually cut miters on the ebony. We did a little miter the other day, and we also mitered the veneer, the edging, so that 3/32 mahogany edging that was shot on the little in the course. Tony, if you want to check that out, I think you have the course. Oh, there's someone else.
I'm not remembering if Tony has that.
Well, if you're in the neighborhood, you have access to all the courses, and if you want to adjust the course. But we go over that, and I made a little special shooting accessory for the shooting board, and it's super easy and it's fun because you can adjust it to whatever your angle is. This happens to be a 110-degree corner. So the miter was, class, the miter was 55 degrees. It's always half of the corner. That's why a 90-degree corner, it's a 45-degree miter. So to make that 55-degree angle, I made a little wedge for the shooting board that had to be the complement of that, 35 degrees. So anyway, it's in the course. It's fun, and it's kind of fun to make that and tape. You just tape it on. So
Okay, last question before you move on, sorry. Dennis says, how did you route the ebony inlay on the side without chipping the veneer?
that's one of the cool things about veneer, Dennis, is that once you put your glue on and it cures, it's really strong. It's held on there. So the glue is holding it back from chipping. So also, I do a climb cut. So the bit is spinning this way, right? I'd rather not spin into the force of move the router into the force of the spin. You're still going to be fine, I bet. But I start going, on this case, I'd hold the router, it's spinning, and I move it with the spin. So that's hard to do on a heavy cut. You really don't want to do it on a heavy cut because the router will take off on you. It'll grab. But with just a little rabbit like that, you're just going to climb cut it around. And you'll get a little fuzz on there, but no big deal. You just lightly sand it. And we go over that in the course if you're interested in making this table. Or if you're already in there, you could check it out if you want to do something else. Bow front end table master class. It's toward the later issues. So let me just put a little finish on here. Thinner, so we can get the final look of what you get when you work with Burl Veneer. So this is Carpathian elm burl. Let's put it around the edge. I can see where I'm going to have to touch up with color. Isn't that amazing?
So gorgeous.
So beautiful the way you have this side grain here and these pools. Let me try to see if I can find a patch.
Like you can see faces.
There actually is one right there. That little knot is a patch, but when you get the finish on and everything, there's a little plug right there too. But it's just amazing, huh? Yeah. Stunning, stunning veneer. And this will be on the top of the masterclass version. It's really not that hard to use, but when you use exceptional materials like this, it's such a small fraction of the cost of making fine furniture when you factor in your time, that it makes no sense to go cheap on your materials. I've said this before, but when I made all the custom commissioned work for clients or collectors, I calculated the amount of time and the cost of your time versus the materials. The materials always came out to no more than 10% of the cost of the project, even when I was using really nice materials. So think about that. 90% of your effort and costs is affected negatively if you use poor materials. So the piece is so much better too at the end. You end up with like something really special and unique. So I hope you enjoyed that. Working with Burl, it's a wonderful experience. I hope that helps you get over the hurdle of intimidation about it. It's a great material. Remember, if you are interested in making projects like this, or there's lots of beginner style projects, check out epicwoodworking.com. And if you join the neighborhood, you have access to all of them. And it's a really great deal, a nice community, a lot of fun. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Yes, great
people.
And
also, if you like this content, please consider subscribing. That helps us, liking and sharing and all that. Yeah. Well, thanks again for hanging out with us a little bit here in beautiful downtown Canterbury in the shop. Nice and warm. On behalf of the camera lady and myself, we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yes.
Right back here on Sharp Night Live. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. So good to be with you all. Stay warm. Take care.